Hey, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to the Hanging On to Hope podcast.
I'm Brenda J.
And I'm Karen Wonder.
And we are hangingontohope.org.
This podcast is intended as educational and is not psychological or medical advice. Always consult a professional when needed, and we disclaim any liability in connection with the instruction, information, or advice given. Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Hanging On to Hope podcast. This is Karen W.
And this is Brenda J.
And today we're just going to have a discussion about life and what's going on and kind of do an update.
Yeah, we are going to do that. All right. So, Karen, I think on the last podcast that I did with Nicole, we, asked you to pray for Karen's dad and that she went to go see him. So can you update us a little bit on what's been going on?
Yeah, he has terminal cancer. It's a very aggressive cancer. I can't pronounce it, or I would say it, glioblastoma. Anyway, it's a very aggressive cancer, and it just basically, even with radiation and chemo, it grows very fast, but he only had 11 radiation treatments and he got really weak just with those treatments. So he had to stop the treatment. So while I was there, he stopped doing the treatment. So he's now on hospice. There's a nurse that comes twice a week. So it's just been a lot to process, and I hope to go back next month. I'm trying to help my stepmom because, she's been taking care of him this whole time. It all happened really fast. Like the end of October, he thought he was having a stroke, and turns out he had this tumor in his brain that he didn't know he had, and which is, I guess, pretty common. He started having seizures. And so he had brain surgery, within 2 weeks of finding that out, and went to rehab, and he still hadn't completely recovered from the surgery. And then having the radiation, it was just a lot, for him to handle. And I think it just was, making him 2 weeks. So it's just hard. It's hard to see your parents declining and in health, that not knowing what their future's like. It's just a lot to process.
Yeah.
So it's definitely been hard. And then since I got back from spending a little over a week with my dad, I got sick. So I still sound sick because I still kind of have this congestion going on. So just trying to get back to health and get back on the right track.
Yeah. Everybody needs to pray she gets better too, because it's been lingering. So.
I know, it's been over 2 weeks and I thought I was getting better, and then now it's kind of moved to my sinuses. It almost feels like like I'm starting over with it. So yeah, I just want to get over it. And I just really appreciate prayers from my dad and my stepmom, because they're on my mind. Anyone that's going through, anyone has cancer, kind of like what Nicole was talking about. I listened to her podcast. I mean, cancer is just it can be such a devastating thing. And when you love someone that's going through something like that, it's just, you feel like you have this dark cloud that just follows you around everywhere you go. Yeah. Because you can't help but think about it. It just changes your perspective on everything. So yeah, and on good things, I'm in a good relationship. I'm in a healthy relationship, and he's been very supportive through all of this, because it's been a crazy time. But I feel like God has brought me to a place where I'm able to be in a good relationship, which to me is all tribute to God, because he allowed me to heal. And I'm glad that I took the time to heal. Yeah. Because I think if I hadn't taken the time to heal, I would have sabotaged it, because it feels different than any relationship I've ever had. And there are times I'm like, this feels weird. It's like, it feels too good, but it's because I've never had it like this. There's always been something like, this doesn't feel right. But it's like, no, this is how it's supposed to feel. It's supposed to be good. It's supposed to be this where there's not a lot of drama and craziness. It's just like, no, this is somebody that cares for you and loves you unconditionally, and you love them unconditionally. And to me, it's been really amazing. And I just give God total glory, because it's something I prayed about for so long. And I kept reminding him of that verse, that hope deferred makes the heart sick, but desire fulfilled is a tree of life, which I think I've mentioned on this podcast before. But I feel like I'm getting the desire fulfilled now in that. And so I'm thankful. It's increased my faith in God. It's knowing that he was listening to my prayers all along, because I always wanted another relationship. I'm a hopeless romantic. Yeah. So I never gave up on that, but I was starting to wonder if it was going to happen. And, we're still it's only been almost 6 months now, but it's just been nice, and I'm just enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to enjoy it.
You had to wait until you were ready.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I didn't try to push it too early because I do think I wasn't ready. I needed that time to heal. I'm a big believer in working on yourself. And I'd taken a course, which I'm still need to finish, but I'd started a course in July of last year on healing childhood trauma. And I went through, I think there's 4 courses in that whole thing I bought, but I plowed through the one on childhood trauma because I was just so like, I just want to work on this. This is my next thing I'm working on. And it was right after I finished that this relationship happened. So I do feel like there was kind of this sense of surrendering to God, but also just like really trying to heal, anything that might keep me from having that,
Yeah. I had just had, it was really hard because for some reason the 22nd of January was a really tough day for me. And I was reading this book and it talked about, some bad events that happened on that day. But then I remembered, I went and I looked on my phone and that was the day that my divorce was final. So it's been 5 years. So that was hard to believe that it had been that long.
Yeah.
And so that was just, I had to process that one. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. It's like they say the body keeps the score.
Because we started the podcast and I was maybe a year in or, not even 2. And now it's like, wow, where's the time going? So
but I hope you're able to see, like I wrote in your Christmas card, that you have grown so much. Yeah. I mean, just the time I've known you, you've grown incredibly, and I think the podcast has helped us both because it's like, we're getting this therapy, all the time. And it's healing to hear people's stories and to get, listen to counselors. It's very healing. So,
well, I thought I was doing really well. And then I was at the store yesterday and I saw someone that my ex was really good friends with from the past that I haven't seen in maybe 5, 6, 7 years. And he's like, Brenda, I thought that was your voice. And I really got triggered. And because I didn't know if he still talked to him or not.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even know what to do. So then I kind of hugged him. And then I just said, well, he goes, no, I haven't talked to him in years. I don't talk to him. And I was like, it helped, but I was just so triggered and it was very awkward.
Yeah.
And I just said, I still struggle with seeing people from the past.
Yeah.
So,
but just know that because I was triggered when I was even there with my dad, because there's things that I forgot about. There's certain things that I got triggered on when I was back there for a while. But it reminded me that it's not like, I haven't healed. It's just a reminder that it's ongoing. It's an ongoing process.
And what was incredible is I was able to walk away from it knowing that, wow, I didn't react normally, but immediately was like, I need to put my brain back in let me get out of this emotional state I'm in. I knew I needed what I needed to do to recover from it quickly, and I did.
Yeah.
I didn't dwell on it. It was quick. It was like, okay, I was awkward for these 5 minutes when it happened, and now I'm fine.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key is being able to regulate yourself.
Yeah.
I was able to regulate myself quickly because I knew what happened. I'm like, I'm triggered. Okay.
Yeah, it took me longer than that because when I came back from Yuma, then I didn't realize it was still in fight or flight. I'd gone, 3 or 4 or 5 days. I hadn't done yoga, and I went to do yoga, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, I think as I got sick,
right,
and I really couldn't do it. And then I went to do it when I was starting to feel better, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was so like tense, because I hadn't just like stretched and I thought, wow, this time I've just been, and when you're coughing too, you're kind of like, so I was just in that mode of being bent over and protecting myself. And it just made me realize too, like, I need to check in and realize that I'm carrying all this tension so I can relax and let it go.
Yeah. But I definitely have come a long way, but there's some interesting things where, I've been told by therapists I shouldn't, you shouldn't run, you should be doing stretching and yoga. But then I was watching that video with Heather and Sarah McDougall and Coach Brenda, and she talks about taking 2 deep breaths in and 1 out, which I'd never heard of. And she talks about everything that it does to your body and why it works really well. And I realize when I'm running, I automatically take in 2 breaths, blow 1 out completely.
Yeah.
So I was doing that automatically in my runs. And I was running last night outside of the gym. And I realized, oh my goodness, no wonder why I feel so good when I run. No wonder why I run.
Yeah. Well, it's everyone's different, and what they need to, for me, it's yoga. Yoga is what helps me regulate, but everyone does different things. For you, it's running.
Yeah. And I like yoga and stuff too, but I didn't realize why I liked running until it hit me last night. Oh, I'm breathing that way. That's calming me.
Yeah.
Because most people run and they're more tired and they're more hyper. And for me, the way I was breathing was bringing that heart rate down. It was doing all the things to get you out of fight or flight.
Yeah, it's regulating everything.
So I thought that was interesting. So just in the last few days, I guess a lot of things have happened to me that I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't even realize that till we were talking right now. So yeah, Karen and I both been through a lot just in January, I would say.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
because I left on New Year's Day to go because they fell. Both my mom or my stepmom and my dad had fell that day. She texted me, and so I'm like, okay, I need to go and help out, and I'm going to need to go back and help out. I always thought hospice was 24/7 too. I'm learning so much about everything that comes to that. Like to me, when people talk about hospice, I always thought
it was too.
It's not. And, and I've been following this nurse on TikTok that's a hospice nurse. And she's like, the only people that get 24/7 care is rich people, basically, because it costs money. And they're trying to get, because my dad is a veteran, they're trying to get some kind of aid. But it's kind of crazy when you think about it. It's like somebody going through what he's going through and they can't even get 24/7 help. You do what you can, but that's how the health system is.
Yeah, I think where we've probably come a long way and where probably a lot of our listeners are as well. And I don't know if we've done a lot of podcasts on when you feel dysregulated, learning ways to regulate yourself and what works for you.
Yeah. For me, it's journaling and yoga. Those are the two things for me. But I haven't been journaling that much either because it's been so crazy since I've been back. Yeah, you definitely need to find ways to regulate yourself, whatever that is for you. Yeah. And it's different for everyone.
Or it may be multiple things. Like when I took 18 months off, I was doing everything you could possibly do to regulate and get out of fight or flight. And I feel like I did to a certain extent. Sometimes I'll go back in, but yeah, I was doing
mindfulness,
yes.
Okay. That was my first thought, but then I'm like, I thought you were talking about the opposite of that. Well, and another thing that I have going on is my oldest son has been living on my couch since October 1st. And I have a small place. I have a townhome, so it just feels a little crazy, but it's good. I mean, we started counseling together, and I think that's a good step. For anyone that might be in that situation, because I think it's actually very common. When I went to the counselor yesterday, she goes, there's so many kids that are moving back in with their parents because of the economy. People can't afford it. I mean, it's just not easy.
But anyway, the whole kids thing is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Whole nother thing. And I think I said to my oldest the other day, I shocked him. I said, how's your relationship with God? And he was like, did you just ask me? Like, I threw him off. He wasn't expecting it. And then he really went on like a little debate about it. And like, well, it should really, the way the world is, it should just really be about love. And I'm like, you're 100% right. Yeah. It should be. And so it was an opportunity for us to talk about God a little bit. Yeah. Because they do struggle with their relationship with God. Yeah. Ever since the divorce. So, yeah. And the ex moved closer by. So that was a trigger for me for a while, but just had to give it to God. Try not to let it affect me. Just hope I never run into him.
And another thing I want to say is The Chosen is something I'm still excited about. And The Chosen season 4 is coming out in theaters in February. And I've been watching all the premieres. Like, I'm such a Chosen fanatic.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait for it to come out.
Yeah, they did a premiere in LA and then they did a premiere in London. And I watched it all. I'm like watching it all like, like they have like this, they call it the teal carpet, where they actually have especially at the LA one, they had all the actors from The Chosen there. And I don't know, to me, it's just been such a impacting series. And I'm excited about season 4. I mean, it's going to be hard every time I watch the trailer, there's that trailer. They have several trailers, but there's one trailer where it's Mary's she's saying how you told us it was going to be like this, the bitter mixed with the sweet. And they show Jesus just like falling to his knees in agony. And you're like, oh, wow, it's coming.
Oh, so season 4, is that going to be the final one?
No, it's 7 seasons. Oh. But it's getting into the real heat of it though now, where before it was just like, okay, the disciples are getting to know each other and they're all this, but it's getting serious now where the heat is starting to come on. I mean, the end is near, they're preparing for the end, but it's, still a few seasons left. Okay. But you can tell it's getting into, it's going there because we all know the story of what happens. Yeah. It's bittersweet, it's agony, but it's because of what happened that we're able to have the eternal life. So it's good things, but it's also to see what they go through.
Yeah.
It's going to be intense. But yeah, I've listened to Jonathan Rumi because he's got a series out too, a docuseries on Amazon where he called Jonathan and Jesus, where he talks about ever since he's taken this role, like it's changed his life completely.
Yeah.
I mean, people really think he's Jesus when they see him. They're like, Jesus, they act like, when they would see Jesus and he's like, I'm not Jesus. But he also respects that people are so moved by his performance.
Right.
Which is actually a compliment to him because he does that so well. And I think we all needed to see this really compassionate Jesus. And I think that's why so many people are affected by it. But yeah, he gets all kinds of reactions, but it's just a lot. I think it's going to be an amazing series. It's going to bring things home.
Yeah, we do recommend to all of our listeners, especially as an abuse victim. It was life-changing for me. I was able to focus for the first time on a television show after being in fight or flight. My brain just not working for so long, but it's healing.
It is
It's
healing.
very healing. And
because you're seeing it,
very
you also,
real.
because there were so big proponents of seeing things in context. And like when we interviewed our pastor, he's like, you're watching it and, you're watching the context.
Yeah.
And, when you're watching The Chosen, you're seeing this is how things were. It is a different life. It's an ancient world. It's different than our world. But when you understand scripture in that light, which is to me so important because you can't take a scripture and then apply it to, you have to understand the context. That's
Right.
so important to understand the context. And with The Chosen, you're seeing it in context. Like the woman at the well, you're understanding what she was going through, how things were at the time.
Yeah.
For a woman.
Yeah, just to see them as real people.
Yeah.
Like Jesus relating to the disciples as real people. When I read the Bible, I have a harder time picturing that. But watching The Chosen,
Yeah.
I can definitely see everything in a different light.
Yeah.
As it's in real life, it's like, oh.
Yeah, and you're getting more
relatable.
attached to each disciple because they all have their different personalities, and you're seeing that they were just real people that struggled just like we all do. They weren't really superheroes like we think they were. I'm just excited about it because it's for me, it's been healing. And I'm having my boyfriend watch it because he is not familiar with it, and I think it's a great tool for anyone that struggles to focus or struggles to understand the whole context. Because we want to actually do a Bible study. We went through a Bible study, and with season 1, there was a guy that did his Bible study going through. We watched parts of The Chosen in season 1, and then we would talk about it. I'm like, this is great. And then now they're going to go on to something else. So I said, I bought the book, the study, The Chosen has different things you can buy. And they have one actually on a Bible study guide for season 2. So we're just going to kind of do our own Bible study by using The Chosen, which I think is just a great, especially if you're a visual learner. I'm a visual learner.
Yeah.
So for me, it helps me to see it and then talk about it, so I'm excited about just digging into season 2. And
Well, what's really like what I'm still shocked at the moment now is you said my boyfriend. All the podcasts we've done. That was the only word that I was like, oh, that sounded like.
I know, I'm still getting used to that. It's so strange.
Oh,
I actually have a boyfriend. Oh my gosh. I'm like, how old? And I have a boyfriend.
Oh, man. Oh, my gosh.
I just want to give hope to people, though, because I feel like I was in this place of waiting for so long, and I've had so many discussions with so many of my girlfriends that are also hopeless romantics. Like, I just want a relationship so bad, and we both like, I can relate. I feel the same way, and I just want to give hope to people that feel that way because I felt that way for so long, and I felt like God was not answering my prayer, and I just kind of felt hopeless about it. And to me, it's just, I just want to encourage people that it does happen in the right time. I mean, it happened to me. We both feel like we were at the right place at the right time. I met him in an in-person singles group, but we both really feel like it was just the right time.
Yeah.
We'd both done our work. I feel like he's a widow, so he's gone through suffering, but I tell him this all the time. I said, it's made him wiser.
Right.
Because sometimes people go through really hard things and they get bitter.
Right.
But he didn't get bitter. He made himself a better person because he realized there's things he didn't do that he wished he would have done with his wife. And he's like, this time around, I'm going to do those things I didn't do. And I just look up to him for that because I think so many people don't have that approach.
Yeah. And let's reiterate, she didn't just sit around for 7 years, or how many years was it before you?
It was at least 7, 8 years.
7, 8 years.
Yeah.
She didn't sit around going, oh, I wish I had a man. Oh, I wish I had a man. She healed. She did the work.
Yeah.
She spent time alone.
Yeah.
She went and worked out her junk.
Yeah.
Like, just so that we're clear here. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I
Yeah, no.
got out of that relationship and, oh, I just want a man. I just want a man. No, it wasn't that.
No. It was a long time, and I kind of almost given up hope. I thought, well, I guess it's, and I was almost okay with it, into the sense of, we went on that trip to Europe last year, and I'm like, I can just go travel. I'm just going to travel all the time, and that's all I need.
Yeah.
But God was like, no, I've got something better for you. Like, I can still travel. I still want to travel.
Yeah.
But, to me, this is a desire of my heart. And, God did give me the desire of my heart. But if I would have not done the work, I would have sabotaged it, because that's what I did before. When I'd have a good relationship, I would sabotage it, because it'd be like, this feels weird. I'm not used to this. I'm used to chaos,
Right.
And so I'm so glad that I did the work, and I constantly have to remind myself, no, this is good.
Yeah. And that 5 years that I've been through, I came from a big family, and we all lived on the same street. I was the youngest of 5. Then I had my own 3 kids. And so I had never been alone. I can't even think of a time in my entire life where I was ever alone until these last 5 years. Wow. So I just read something where you really can't heal if you're not alone. If you don't have any time alone, you can't heal. And I think was very big deal, that I needed that 5 years alone for sure. And so it's helped me a lot, because I just really spend a lot of time with God. I really spend a lot of time healing.
Yeah, I think you do need to be okay with, because no matter what kind of relationship you're in, still at the end of the day, like, he can't fix all my needs. I'm still me, like,
it's your boyfriend can't bring you happiness. You need to be happy on your own. He has nothing to do with it. Yeah.
Right. It's like, and it's still God. Like, my relationship with God is what sustains me.
Yeah. It's not his responsibility to make you happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Right.
No person can do that. We're responsible for our own happiness. Yeah. And that's where I think we all fall short.
Yeah, it's so easy to look for someone. And I know I did that in my marriage, because you don't know better when you're that young. You do think, by all those romantic movies, you think, oh, this person's just going to, meet all my needs. And that's just not a realistic.
God needs to meet our needs.
Yeah.
And he does.
He does. He's very faithful to meet our needs.
And if we're sad or we're feeling a certain way, that's not a bad thing either. That's the other thing I had to learn.
Right. It's okay to feel work through your pain. And it's not as bad as we think it's going to be. We avoid pain. But, it's just like we talked about on different podcasts, like when you actually feel your pain and work through it, it's gone. Yeah. It doesn't last. We think it's going to be like this thing that's going to last forever, but it doesn't. Right. It's like, okay, I felt it and I'm moving on now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm going to talk about something. I one morning I woke up and this article came on my phone, and I just couldn't believe, because we've done the podcast on body image and talked about how social media affects how we feel about ourselves. And I mean, it truly does. And Karen and I are older. We're not young. So God, if I would have had to live as a kid growing up in today's generation, I would really be struggling. Yeah. And I think when we did this, the one on body image with my daughter, she had a really good body image. And then since then I've talked to her, and now she's talking about surgeries or lines on her face or the lines on her forehead, which I couldn't even believe how much social media and looking at our phones and all that is affecting people that were never affected before. And so I just really pray that the women in this world, and even men, could just have a healthy, that God could just fill us with his Holy Spirit and just give us a healthy look at how God sees us, and to see what really, really matters. And what matters is what's on the inside. And all the social media and everything that's going on, this article, there, if you Google it, you can pull up numerous articles, but it's about to be continued. Stay tuned for next week's part 2. You don't want to miss it.
Thanks for tuning in to Hanging On to Hope. Check out our website, hangingontohope.org. There are resources on there, and if you would like to donate or volunteer, you can do that through our website. We are a brand new nonprofit, so we appreciate any and all support. And we thank you for listening, and until next time, keep hanging on to hope. We are evidence that there is hope and healing for you, and our passion is to help you find it too. So thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening, everyone.